Thanks for staying with us, everyone. This is What Now. We turn our attention to Europe, where Denmark's foreign minister says he's deeply upset by U.S. President Donald Trump's appointment of a special envoy to Greenland, who openly declared that he would like to see the island become part of the United States. The governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, was appointed as special envoy to Greenland by President Trump on Monday. In a post on Truth Social, the U.S. president said Jeff Landry understands how essential Greenland is to America's security and will strongly advance the nation's interest in the safety, security, and survival of its allies, and indeed the world. In reaction, Denmark's foreign minister said he was deeply upset over Mr. Landry's appointment as a special envoy and is particularly upset by his statements, which he says Denmark finds completely unacceptable. We're joined now from the U.S. by global affairs analyst Boye Akioku. He joins me virtually. Good to have you join us.
Thanks for having me, and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you too. This is an issue that sort of went to rest at some point. Everybody thought that President Trump had moved on from Greenland, but all of a sudden on Monday he appointed a special envoy, Landry, to help in making Greenland a territory of the United States. And what do you make of this latest move by President Trump?
Okay, well, it's an interesting move. President Trump hardly backs down from what he believes in. And he has always been of the opinion that Greenland should be taken over. So it's just one of those things that he's trying to fulfill, I'm sure, before his term runs out. He has appointed someone, and he has always said Greenland is important to the U.S. He has not ruled out taking over by force, by diplomatic move. So it's just one of the things that President Trump truly believes, and I believe is just pushing ahead with that move at the moment.
So Greenland is home to about 57,000 people. It has an extensive self-government since 1979, even though its defense and foreign policy still remains in Danish hands. Now, while most Greenlanders favor eventual independence from Denmark, when you look at opinion polls coming from that island, they are overwhelmingly opposition to becoming a part of the U.S. Can the U.S. take Greenland without the approval or without the consent of that island?
It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be very hostile if that takeover happens, because if you look at the history of Greenland and what they have gone through, they were under Denmark for a very long time. If you look at what's going on, it's something that they don't like that part of their history, and that is why they are kicking against having the U.S. take over so badly, because of the history and what has been going on with them. So it's obvious from all the polls that they don't want another takeover. You know, they think they are moving forward. They want to 100% get away from Denmark. Now, being taken over by the U.S. is going to be something that will that's not looking like it's going down well with them. But it looks so. I don't see them accepting that with ease from everything that we can see. The vice president visited Greenland earlier in the year, and it was a hostile environment that he walked into. Although if you ask President Trump, it's the opposite. But the realities on the ground, they are not looking forward. It's not what the Greenlanders want in any way.
All right. So I wanted to also ask you about because both countries are both NATO members. And if this was to escalate, because the president has said, look, he's going to use any means to get Greenland. If this was to escalate, what would that mean for NATO?
It's if you look at the responses coming from NATO also, they're also saying they do not support any takeover. So it's a delicate thing for NATO to handle, because the US is the biggest sponsor of NATO. The financial side of things is almost, I believe, 90% covered by the US. So the US has a major say in what happens in NATO. But if you look at the administration of NATO, the Europeans handling things over there, everybody is saying no, this cannot be done in this day and age. So it's going to be delicate for NATO. The US is a big sponsor, but it's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out, being that the US is a major sponsor and all the administrative arms and everybody handling NATO are saying no to this. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to put NATO at crossroads on how to move forward at some point, depending on how President Trump approaches this in the end.
And the EU is also backing Denmark on this. We know that the EU has had very strained relations with the US recently, especially over Ukraine and how the peace plan with Russia should go. Can the EU afford another escalation in tensions, especially with the already strained relations and the dependence? Most countries in the EU, or some countries in the EU, are also part of NATO.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, I don't think, if you ask any world leader, nobody will support any annexation in this day and age. And that is also the position of the EU. So it's going to strain that relationship much more. But I'm sure everybody is just hoping for time to move very fast, and this will pass by without it escalating. It is going to be a major issue between Europe again and the US. No one thinks it's a good move. The Greenlanders don't want it, so it's gonna put a big strain on on the relationship of the European Union and the United States. No doubt about that.
And President Trump cites national security reasons for this move, and experts have said it is pretty much true because Russian ships and Russian and Chinese ships have been seen on that, on that island, the ocean around that island, and it doesn't work well for the U.S. Is there a way around this in terms of an agreement between Denmark and the U.S. to ensure that the national security of the U.S. is guaranteed without actually taking the island?
I mean, so the United States has its base on the island already. They've had it since the end of the Second World War. The location is strategic, halfway in between the US and Europe, sort of geographically. So it is true that it is very important to the US. President Trump has stressed it that they are not after any kind of resource, but they want to see what's going on. I believe the middle ground here would be that they can expand how the base is used. They can install more modern equipment and just make the best out of that. That's the way it looks to me that this is going to end. They probably would have to agree to allow the US better access maybe to the base that they have, maybe expand and have more presence in Greenland. But that is the US wants to have better control, and I believe they can reach a middle ground. If that's where to end up, probably the US will just have more control over the base and be able to see things much better than they are right now.
All right, thank you so much, International Affairs Analyst Bayo Akinkunmi. Always a pleasure, Boye Akinkunmi rather, always a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me, and have a good day. Thank you.
You too. All right, that's TVC, that's What Now. Thank you so much for watching. Now, for more updates on